Hello, this is Dave and welcome to Equities Story. I'm with the Wolf and this is the last day of 2022. And are you sad, Wolf, to see 2022 go, or are you happy?
Well, first of all, you had to drag me out from my little cave up in the bush. I scrubbed that all right, haven't I? I mean, talk about no warning about this.
Well, to be honest with you, I did phone you. I still thought you were in the bush, but you weren't. You're back home. Shining all your rocks you'd found.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was doing.
So did you find anything exciting?
I found my rocks that I'm looking for. My beautiful little ferns.
Are worth a lot of money, Wolf?
No, it's not about money, Dave. It's about pleasure.
Phew, I get so scared in case.
No, because you think I'm going to find this $1 million rock and I'm just going to leave you.
Yeah, well, you're going to need more than $1 million with your wife,
Exactly.
but yeah. Anyway, so I'm sort of glad you really haven't found the secret lost cave of gold, but
well, I wish.
Anyway, one day, Wolf, one day. Anyway,
I find a mine out there.
It's all right. We'll make it part of Equities Story.
Just one thing. I tell you, I looked at like the Google map, right, where I go fossicking, and there are coal seam gas wells everywhere. Almost like on a every 500 meters there's a coal seam. It's just ridiculous. The whole countryside is coal seam gas wells. It's unbelievable, Dave. I've never
These are the ones they fracked a few
years
years
ago.
ago.
Right. That's exactly right. Yep. Owned by Origin, Santos, and I think Arrow Energy.
Really, but they're not allowed to frack anymore, are they?
I don't know, but it's just unbelievable how the countryside can be so changed with all these fracking wells in there.
You've got to be careful. Just be careful you don't fall down one of those holes. That would be a really horrible announcement I'd have to make at Equities Story.
Yeah, well, lost in a fracking well.
All right. This is just general share advice and not personal. And Wolfie, there weren't too many announcements out today, but there was two I want to chat about. There's VGL. Now, this is the company which, in the old days, it was interesting with before COVID, with cinemas were growing and they sort of upgraded their revenue guidance. The issue is that a lot of companies owed the money that went into Chapter 11. So you wouldn't be buying it yet. But I'll tell you what, something like VGL is a sort of interesting story that could one day be an interesting comeback. And if it starts trending and getting back over the trend lines, it most probably be well worth having a look at, Wolf.
Yeah, it's an interesting company for sure. More tech company than your normal industrial type stuff. And it's certainly got something interesting. It's part of its business. But for me, you've got to ask yourself, where do I see the future of the cinemas, right? And this is a hard answer to give you because we've got the streaming, we've had the pandemic which threw this whole thing around. Now I saw a James Cameron interview saying that it's not the same as it used to be. He's also questioning, where are we going to go? Am I going to make an Avatar 4? It's all about the money, right? So I'm just questioning. So once again, it goes back to follow the charts. I'm going to wait to see how it performs.
Yeah, and it's true. There's so much online you can get nowadays, which is all for free, isn't it? So
you got to question where's the future of this, right? Is it growth or is it going to be stagnant and maybe fall back?
Yeah, I mean, not that I would ever look at free stuff online, but I think a lot of people do, don't they? I know. Okay, so you're going to get me into trouble one day. Now, Wolfie, the other thing is a company called CGC. So they've had a ransomware attack. Sorry, not CGC. Apologies. It is C6C.
That's right.
Is that the right one? Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Company called
Copper
Mountain, right? And if you said to me, would I imagine these type of companies like, I don't know, resource companies being targeted for ransomware attacks? I would have said no, right? But here you go, giving it a go, where obviously the cyber criminals have a lot to gain by attacking some of these companies and maybe
it's too easy, isn't it? It's just too easy for these cyber criminals to go to any company and just go, we've hacked in, we've got control, we can wipe everything out, but pay us $1 million so we won't do that. Right? I mean, it's just so easy to do. And any company, like you say, Copper Mountain, thinking, what? A Copper Mountain? Why? But they can target anyone they possibly can do that for. And the question for me is now, it's not just the big Medibank privates, which is now your details and my details are possibly on sale on the dark web. It's just small companies can be also targeted. So for me, that cybersecurity space theme, it just grows and grows and grows and grows. You've got to be some sort of investment in this, because the future is you've got to be protected left, right, and center, from top to bottom.
And again, your preferred story in that, which obviously it's not trending.
In Australia, of course. I mean, we don't have much, unfortunately, and it had a little bit of sell-off. But yeah, absolutely, it's DSC for me. Absolutely DSC.
Well, if you look at
a very simple business, right? It does protect your data. So in other words, it backs up, right? And you can retrieve the data if anything does happen, and so on. So it's a wonderful little business that everyone should be using if you're a business that cares about your own business and your customers as well.
Yeah, this is really lightly traded, Wolf. So it's hard to look at the charts because I think a few grand here and there moves up and down. But it's actually range trades quite nicely between the sort of 15 and 23 level. And you think, if you're looking for that type of business with a long-term view, nibbling around 17.5 cents,
I agree. I think this is a great opportunity for the long term to have a little bit of nibble with a view that, within 3 to 5 years, this should be bigger and better.
All right, Wolf. And really, it's pretty quiet today. There's just two stocks that we want to talk about. What I thought we'd do is that we did a video back in October, and we talked about the areas of the market that historically do very, very, very well in times of high inflation. And those areas are gold, agriculture, oil, insurance, and basically alcohol, beer, right? Wine, those sort of businesses. So there's a few I thought we could just highlight again and have a look at. And certainly the gold space, there's two stocks which have been our sort of preferred exposures to that section. The high risk one is MEK. And again, we have to reiterate, it's high risk. It's sort of early day explorer, but some very positive announcements and positive drill results. And hopefully we're going to get some nice ones coming out over the next few months. And the other one is Newcrest, which is above trend and not looking too bad, actually, Wolf. And I think gold, last time I looked, was holding above that 1800 level.
Yeah, which is actually quite important, I suppose, for me anyway, psychologically, right? $1,800 is quite nice. And if you just translate it into the Aussie dollar terms, it's still up there pretty high. So all these companies should be making fairly decent gains. Now, Dave, I just want you to have a look at something as well, because I did a little bit more work on Evolution as well. Yeah. And I know it wasn't our preferred pick, but it started to look a little bit more interesting, if you say so myself, right? So I looked at this and I thought, if they play their cards right in 2023 and the gold holds up, this could be the sleeper for 2023 gold-wise, because if you look at the actual production and costs, they are still one of the lowest ones out there, Dave. So for me, definitely one to look at.
What was the news that gave them that little bit of a scare fall? Was it just one bad quarter of production?
It was a bad quarter, plus it was I suppose, softish outlook, right? So remember, investors are usually very fickle and short-term looking. So, and you get those quarters from these miners. Doesn't matter if you're a BHP or Evolution or whatever, right? You will get a softish quarter or maybe an outlook that an investor goes, for the next 3 to 6 months, I might as well be somewhere else, right? This is what happens. But
and Wolf, that can often be because they're actually mining a difficult part of the mine.
Yeah, or maybe they're going on care and maintenance or whatever, right?
Yeah.
This is the thing. It's a lot of investors just don't understand the long-term cyclicality of these sort of businesses. And there you go. Okay, you would have sold out back in, if it went under $4, you would have sold out. But I reckon you're back, Dave. I reckon you're back.
Well, you know what? If you're a believer in gold, I think Newcrest is good. But this price action is, if I could argue, slightly a little bit better. Certainly, I haven't got a sort of black candle this week. It's a little bit lightly traded. And Evolution historically can move quite nicely when it does trade, Wolf. We've seen that in the past.
And it's got copper too.
And it's got copper too. Say no more, right? So and you've got not a bad risk reward evolution. So
Yeah,
you've got a stop loss under 280, and
Mhm.
if it happens, well, you've got a target of 347. So I think if you like gold, we'll add it in there. I think if you like gold, again, well worth having a look at.
Yep, agree. I think this is like I said, a sleeper that's finally come back. I'm thinking it's time to have a look at this.
Excellent. Wolfie, funny enough, Elders, which is one of our dividend stocks, has had that sell down. And yesterday we talked about it being an opportunity for a nice dividend. But again, Elders and we've got Grain Corp are two stories that, or sectors, agriculture tend to hold up quite well in periods of high inflation.
Yep.
Um,
Last Dave, I was out in the outback, right? Trust me, it's going quite well out there. Plenty of water. The conditions are bloody beautiful. It's not too hot. Queensland's going to do quite well with some of this farming. And I know, not every crop is going to be exactly the same, but I think generally conditions are fairly good. So there'll be a surprise. I hope on the upside, some of these investors are going to get a positive surprise out of Elders and probably RIC and some of the others that it's not as bad as people are predicting.
Yeah, definitely. RIC looks good on the charts, and we did speak about that 2 days ago, Wolf. Grain Corp has got a little bit of pressure, but you'd look at it on a longer term chart, a monthly chart, and sort of anything under sort of $7 could be for those long termers a excellent opportunity to start nibbling away. Now the next one is oil, Wolfie, and it's an interesting one because it's an inflation hedge. But I'm actually, when you read about the oil shortages around the world and how America sort of using up a lot of their strategic reserves, there haven't been many new finds recently. And whether you can argue oil and coal are a little bit like the new tobacco, they're sort of industries which are on the decline, but there's been little investment to them. But that decline isn't yet. We're still going to need a lot of coal. We're going to need a lot of oil for maybe the next 15, 20 years. So Woodside, Wolfie, it's held a trend beautifully all this year, and again could be a decent space for the following year.
Yeah, look, the thing is with gold and oil and some of the other, it's difficult. It's very, very difficult to predict where it's going to go, even though you think to yourself, big picture, it should do quite well. There are different things pulling the strings in the background, right? You've got the Russia, you've got OPEC, you've got US. It's very difficult. I have to say, I think the best thing to do with all these things is just to follow the charts. So it looks okay for the moment. So I'm going with it.
All right, and then let's we've got two more here. We've got another one. We've got Santos, which, to be honest, I think it's in a trading halt at the moment. Is it? No, it's trading. So again, it's sort of, I think it's been a little bit disappointing this year actually compared to Woodside. But Wolf, there has been some pretty high valuations of Santos by some of the major brokers, but still it's a solid company, and most probably if oil's going to do well and gas, this is, would you argue, would be one that could do reasonably well? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, like I said, if oil does well in 2023, you're probably going to see decent returns. And the thing is, SDO and Woodside had a pretty good 2022. So can they continue? Possibly. I mean, the conditions are probably going to be roughly similar, right?
Wolf, with the insurance companies, I'll start, if you don't mind, with Sun. It is one of our dividend stories, and it's done actually well as a dividend story from when we put it on. It's given a little bit of growth. It's not going to put the lights out, but there's a good dividend story in a company that could hold up in a very possibly a more volatility, which we could see this year. It's maybe one worth having a look at. You've got NHF. Again, that's a nice one. Yeah, a good little chart, and it's held up well. You've got PSI, which you put on telly the other day on Ausbiz, so that was a good little a TV show you did there, Wolf, and the letters are starting to fly in. Is he single and all that? So I've told everyone he's totally single, and so you've got to keep your girlfriend on her toes.
No, you got to keep your options open, right?
And AUB, which again is held up really well. So those sort of stories that tend to hold up well in times of inflation have done very, very well, Wolf, for when we started talking about them. And I think we put these ideas on in it was early October. It was when you were away, actually, Wolf. I couldn't think of anything.
Oh, is that right?
I had to,
Can you just throw in QBE for me just to see? Because of course the big one is.
well, QBE is another one that we've sort of put our head on the line recently and said, well, worth having a look.
Well, this one I did put on the telly.
So did I. You know, we both put it on, don't you?
Oh, perfect.
But it's doing well. It's breaking out.
We're boring when we have to talk about QBE on TV.
A little bit desperate. What? But Wolf, look at the breakout. Looking good, isn't it?
Exactly.
And so good pick there. And lastly, but not least, what does well in times of inflation is alcohol, and TWE was the pick there. And we did actually put this one on as a little trend. And it hit our target price, and it's come back, had a little swing. Wolf, I like the chart. You're a little bit more iffy with the company. I know that. Come on, to give us your feeling on TWE, Wolf.
Oh, I don't mind it. Look, it's definitely a recovery story, like you could see, you know, with the China opening, and they really could not sell a bloody bottle in China over the last 18 months when they put the restrictions on, right? So you never know. I mean, imagine they do decide to get rid of those restrictions and those tariffs. This could really do quite well. So definitely one to probably play with, maybe, right? If you like the chart.
All right, and I think those sort of stories, Wolf, in this next year with this still, and I agree with what you said the other day, that inflation is this going to be higher for a lot longer.
Yeah.
And as a result, these companies and these sectors could be the areas well worth having a look at.
Always happens, Dave. We always miscalculate and underestimate things as humans.
All right, listen, on that note, I'd like to wish everyone a happy new year, and everyone have a good time. I don't want to say don't drink too much. We're in Australia.
Exactly.
You know, yeah. I was actually reading. I was watching a video about how to talk Australian. It was quite funny, and it said you gotta, if you're on the piss, that's a real. I thought that was an English saying, but apparently it's an Australian one.
Fair enough. I don't know where you're coming these things from. No idea. But anyway.
All right.
Have I look, you know, we've got to say it. Happy New Year to everyone. And really the most important is health and success in your trading.
All right. Thanks, Wolfie, and happy New Year to yourself, champion.
Thank you very much, guys.
Now run along and start polishing your rocks again.
Yay!
See you, mate. Bye. Bye.